Gemini, welcome to your weekly reading. Let's get started and see what messages we have for Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising for the week ahead. Now keep in mind that these are general readings and may not resonate for everyone. So make sure to check out your other placements because you could have messages in those readings as well. And that'll offer you a more complete picture. Okay, my friends, let's get started. For Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising, what is the current energy around Gemini for the week ahead? Ooh, those came out together, those two cards. Okay, oh, very interesting. Oh my goodness. Okay, Gemini, this is very clear and I like it. Okay, so that's how they came out. So we see fork in the road coming out with regeneration. So this is interesting. This tells me that you have something that is coming into being, something that's coming to life, and it requires you to choose a direction. And it's interesting. You have a very deep knowing about which direction is not for you. Isn't that interesting, the way that came out? So these two kind of came together and these two together. And then on the bottom of the deck, we see time for a nap, which says there is a decision for you to make here, but there's also something that you need to take a nap on. Like there's something that requires inaction. And for the time being, it's interesting. I think all you need to know right now is this: trust your deep knowing about what's not for you, because you are 100% reading this situation accurately. And there's something that you're not supposed to take action on. There's something that is not for you. And then there's something that is like coming to life in this beautiful way, but you just have to choose that direction. So this is an interesting reading, Gemini, because it makes me think that, you know, as a Gemini, you're of two minds of something here. You've got a sort of a logic directional choice to make. On one hand, you feel like, oh boy, that path might have something about it that is really clearly telling you it's not for you. And then there's another path here that says this might be something that could really go somewhere. Like really, this regeneration card makes me feel like if you choose that path, it's like a rebirth. Like this is a very powerful message here. Choosing this path is like a new opportunity. It could also be like a second chance on something that you thought would never be able to work. And here it is again, showing up for you. You just have to choose it. That regeneration card is an interesting one because it might be something that you would have labeled as something that was lost or failed, the F word. You know, you may have even used that F word to say this failed, and then here it is again. But it's very interesting because it feels like there's two clear options here, this path or this path. On one hand, there is this idea that something's really not for you. You know, there's this idea that there's something that is really not for you. And it's really quite powerfully in your deep knowing, like on a very conscious and subconscious level, you're very aware that something is not for you. And I'm wondering why you're even entertaining it. That's the thing that makes me wonder, what is it about it, that experience that's not for you, that's tempting you right now? Because seeing this card come through in the reverse is like a very strong walk away vibe. Very strong. It's very strong. And it's one that you sort of have to accept and surrender and say, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And I feel like you have a very deep knowing. But what is it about this that's tempting you is my question. That's the thing that as a reader I'm curious about. Perhaps the tarot cards will reveal what's so tempting about this in the first place, because it almost feels like this path is something that you wanted even before, and you may have tried it before, So this, what's on this side? This is very interesting. I'm going to pull out the tarot cards here for you to see if we can understand that. But, it's interesting. It's like you have to consider the consequences when I look at this card. The Fork in the Road card says that you may have the obligation to make a choice. So I feel like there is something here that has a consequence attached to it. They both do. One has the idea of a new beginning being the consequence. So that could have all of the things associated with a new beginning. There might be some risk. There might be some trepidation because you may have tried this before. And on this side, that's the thing. What's the allure here? Because you're really being guided to walk away from this other choice. So there may be something that has a consequence that you have a deep knowing about that won't serve you ultimately in the end. Very interesting. Check it out. As I part the deck, we see the Ace of Swords with the Magician in reverse. So yeah, you're hesitating. You're hesitating on which direction to choose because perhaps it's logic and a lack of logic, right? Like perhaps one move on paper looks like the logical choice, but it's just not for you. And perhaps it's the less logical choice that is for you, but because it's not the logical choice, you're hesitating. Isn't that sometimes the way it goes, though? That sometimes on paper, the idea looks really good, but we know it's not for us. We just know it's not for us. Nine of Pentacles coming through in the reverse position. That always tells me that you don't see how resourceful you are. And so there you go. This path might have risk in resources, and you don't see how resourceful you are. You don't see how empowering you are and how capable you are and how resilient and strong you are, which is why this 9 is coming through in reverse. You could also just not want to leave your comfort zone. You could be saying to yourself, but I tried this once, Marie, and it didn't work. So what the hell am I going to try it again for? And well, maybe you're wiser now. Maybe you've learned something since you've tried this before. Maybe you learned a new skill. Maybe you learned a new talent. Maybe you realized something that you didn't know before. Maybe you have more resources now. When I look at a 9 of Pentacles, perhaps you have the resources to do it now and you didn't before. Perhaps you have the knowledge, the wisdom, the experience. There's something here that you have to offer this new beginning, but you might not realize it. And so that's causing a hesitation. You could be overly thinking about where's the money going to come from. Look at that. You got the 9 and the 10 and then the Judgment in reverse. So holy moly, are you ever being shown signs here with this Judgment and the deep knowing that something's not for you? But in the obstacle here could be you feel you don't have the time, energy, or resources to try this again. You could feel like you don't have the support in the family. You might be part of a family that is not supporting this idea. Maybe they're talking you out of it. Maybe they're saying, remember when you tried it the first time and it didn't work and how upset you were? Do you want to do that again? And again, people try and give us advice because they love us, but perhaps you need encouragement right now. You don't need someone pointing out that you tried it once before and it didn't work out. Maybe you need someone to recognize that it's a new day and you're a new version of yourself, and that maybe something has significantly changed to open this up again for you. Seeing the Judgment card in reverse tells me that there's sort of like, you're not realizing what's right in front of you. There is this really great opportunity here for you, Gemini, and on some level you're not realizing it, even though on a deeper level you know it. And I could argue here that if something occurs to you on a deep level and it comes into your awareness, that there's a reason for it to come into your awareness. That, there's this sort of thinking that if we have an inspired idea and it comes into our conscious or unconscious there's a reason for that. And so you wouldn't have thought of it if you weren't capable of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't have come up. You wouldn't have had that realization. But, as I say that, I glance on the bottom of the deck and the top of the deck. Top of the deck is the Page of Cups. Bottom of the deck is the Ten of Swords. You couldn't get a more interesting sort of sandwiching of cards. Like, on one hand, again, we have this really big opportunity that's coming through for you in this Page of Cups as a newfound sort of source of second chance, rebirth. This is the same message, right? And then on the bottom of the deck, we see the Ten of Swords, which is a time where, yeah, you tried this and it didn't work out before. But man, it might be time to give it another chance, because there's the Five of Cups. So that tells me that this is something that when you look back on, you're like, oh, that was emotionally difficult when it didn't work out. Something emotionally difficult. But there's those two cups here. There's that page. I really feel like you're getting a lot of signs to go for this. Now the bottom of the deck is the Star in reverse. So all that's left is for you to have faith in yourself, Gemini. Have faith in yourself, and don't worry about what other people are saying to you about this. You might even need to silence your own inner narrative that's saying you can't do this, you can't do this. You tried to do it once and it didn't work. So, you almost need to silence that too, because there's so much potential here. And there's this other path that you're deciding from, and this is really strongly not for you. So, it's interesting that there is, like, from where I'm sitting, you're blocked by fear. And those came out as clarifiers faster than any two cards could come out. So there's your new beginning, and there's how you're feeling about it. You're blocked by fear. Fear is blocking you from this new leap of faith. This new opportunity requires courage and a leap of faith. I wonder if you have placements in Aquarius, because that message came through for Aquarius as well. This idea of having courage to take a leap of faith towards something new. But in their case, it was on the heels of an ending. In your case, it could be an ending of some kind, but it feels to me more like you've got a choice now to go one way or another way. And the thing that's creating the obstacle for you is fear, not trusting yourself, having lost faith in your abilities because you tried it once and it didn't work out the first time, but maybe it wasn't meant to work out that time. There may have been some fundamental reasons why it didn't work out the first time that don't exist, that they're not part of the current circumstance. So yeah, like, look at that. Queen of Cups, or Queen of Pentacles in reverse with the Four of Swords. So it's time to sort of heal that part of yourself that doesn't feel strong, capable, resilient, and like you're doubting your confidence, you're doubting your power here. And to put that to rest. Like, this is also sort of the same idea, this time for a nap and the Four of Swords. Really putting that to sleep. That idea that you can't. Get rid of that in your vocabulary, period. Don't say, I can't. Just focus on your confidence. Focus on your power. Focus on the fact that you can. You can. Of course you can, Gemini. And you can heal that part of yourself that feels like, no, I can't. You can heal that part of yourself by, you might have to sort of do this thing where you look at the current circumstances and you don't use them. You don't use the current circumstances as evidence towards anything. You just know you can, because the current reality of everything that surrounds you right now is only what you have sort of actualized up until this point. And there's this trap that we get in where we look at the current reality and we're like, this is what defines me. But it doesn't. It just defines what you've actualized up until this point. It doesn't define anything about you moving forward. Do you know what I mean? And there's so much to be grateful for in the present moment, but there are moments where in the present we find evidence for our fears. We find evidence for our lack of confidence and our insecurities. But it's in those moments that we have to sort of remind ourselves that, well, that's just up until today. That's how I was feeling up until this moment, but I don't have to feel that way moving forward. And let's see how I can change my current reality by changing how I feel within. And I really think that's the message of your reading, is that like you can choose a different path. You can even choose a path that you've chosen before, but sort of reinvent it. That's sort of what's coming through for you here, is that you can choose that path. Look, Ace of Cups, love that. And take this as a message to sort of love yourself. Okay, Gemini, like to love yourself into confidence, to love yourself into courage, to love yourself into feeling like you have faith in yourself again. There's always new beginnings that are possible. And trust me, I understand that sometimes you just look at the current reality of your situation and you think, how? But the how isn't even really up to you. All you have to focus on is the why and the what. And the love for yourself, unconditionally. And to really honor that open space that you can create for yourself in the present moment to change things that you find dissatisfying or that don't please you, I'm just gazing at this card, thinking about how I love the imagery of the water overflowing, because it really makes me feel that infinite abundance to always have renewal and rebirth. Thank God. That's something that is part of our universe, that there's always a chance to rebirth, because everything changes. That's the only constant. And so why should you be the only thing in the universe that stays the same? You change too, Gemini. And that power of rebirth is such a blessing, isn't it? Because no matter how intense things get, you can always say this will pass, because it always will. It'll always pass and change and transform. Nothing stays the same. That's the only guarantee that we have, really, is that change is a constant. And so you are also part of that equation, and you can also change. And I love seeing this Ace of Cups here for you. Makes me very happy. And on that note, I'm going to end your reading. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope this reading has been helpful and has resonated for you. If it has, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting. If you would like a personal reading, please find the link for that in the description below. And as always, I'm sending so much love and light to you, my friends, and I look forward to reading for you again soon. Take care.